Today, we're going to dive deep into a really ambitious proposal. It's a 3-year, 170 million shilling plan that aims to tackle one of Kenya's oldest and most difficult challenges: tribalism. This comes from the Office of Ambassador John C.W., and it's basically a roadmap for a nationwide movement to transform the country. And this quote right here, it really gets to the heart of the whole thing. It frames national unity not just as some feel-good social goal, but as a critical piece of the puzzle for the country's progress. This is the big idea driving the entire campaign. So here's how we're going to break it all down. First, we'll look at the problem, what the proposal calls Kenya's costly divide. Then we'll explore the vision for a better future, get into the weeds of the 10-point action plan, and finally, check out the budget and how they plan to measure success.
All right, so first up, let's start with the why. The proposal doesn't see tribalism as just a social issue. It frames it as a deep, systemic wound that is actively holding the nation back.
This is where things get really interesting, because the proposal actually tries to put a price tag on all this division. It calls tribalism an invisible tax on the economy. So how does that work? Well, just think about it. Every 5 years, the political uncertainty around elections causes a huge amount of money to leave the country. At the same time, there's this nepotism trap where the best person for a job often gets passed over. That leads to a brain drain, with skilled Kenyans leaving because their last name ends up mattering more than their actual skills. But it's not just about the money, though. There's also the social damage. The proposal argues that all this ethnic suspicion just dissolves the social glue that's supposed to hold the country together. You see it all the time, right? Public debates get viewed through a tribal filter. The first question isn't, how does this help Kenya? It's which community gets the most out of this? And that just eats away at national trust and our sense of a shared identity. And this is where it really hits our government and public services. The proposal makes the case that tribalism acts as an ethnic shield for corruption. You know how it goes. When an official is accused of doing something wrong, they can just rally their ethnic base and claim that any attempt at accountability is really an attack on their whole community. It makes it almost impossible to hold anyone responsible, and that, in turn, leads to a breakdown in public services for everybody. So the big takeaway from this section is that tribalism isn't just some background noise. According to this proposal, it directly leads to economic stagnation, it weakens our national identity, it causes political balkanization, where politics is just a numbers game between ethnic groups, and it pours fuel on the fire of corruption. The cost is absolutely immense. Okay, so after painting that pretty bleak picture of the problem, the proposal shifts gears and lays out its vision for a solution. It's all about building what it calls a post-tribal Kenya. And at the very center of this vision is a goal that's actually super simple but also really powerful: to create a society where what you know and who you are matters more than your family name. It's about making sure your competence and integrity are what open doors for you. The whole point is to turn Kenya's amazing diversity into a strength, not a political weapon. Now, this whole vision is built on 6 key principles. You can think of them as the non-negotiables. They're the pillars for the entire strategy, connecting ideas like clean politics and public accountability with creating a Kenyan-first identity, and reminding us that every single citizen has a role to play in building unity. Okay, so that's the vision. But how are they actually planning to do all of this? That brings us to the operational heart of the campaign, the 10-point action plan for the next 3 years. And wow, just look at this list. The scope here is huge. They're not just trying to fix one thing. They're coming at this from all angles. It covers everything from grassroots civic education and a youth leadership academy to fighting online hate speech and pushing for clean politics. It's a massive all-in approach. Let's zoom in on a couple of these themes because they're really important. A huge focus is on education and just talking to each other. The thinking here is pretty clear. If people are more informed, they're less likely to be manipulated. And at the same time, the only way to really rebuild trust between communities is through direct, honest dialogue. And you can see here how they've mapped all this out. First, there's the model for civic education, which is basically a whole pipeline, from creating the materials and training educators all the way to measuring the impact on the ground. Then you've got the reconciliation model. It's a process that starts by identifying conflict hotspots and moves toward creating real, signed community unity agreements. It's very structured. Another huge piece of this puzzle, it's all about the youth and governance. I mean, the proposal recognizes that young people are Kenya's biggest demographic, but they're also often the ones who are most easily manipulated. So the goal here is to empower them with leadership skills and a real understanding of public policy, to turn them from pawns into players, agents of positive change.
And again, they've got the structures planned out to do just that. First, you have the Youth Leadership Academy, which is all about creating a new generation of community leaders through special training and mentorship. And right alongside that is the Governance Literacy Program, which is a step-by-step model to make government less mysterious and give citizens the tools they need to demand accountability.
All right, a big plan like this is great, but you know what it needs? Money and people. So let's talk about the budget and the boots on the ground that are supposed to make all this happen. So what's the price tag for all of this? We're talking 170 million Kenyan shillings. That is the total investment they're aiming for to fund all 10 of these initiatives over a 3-year period, from 2026 to 2029. So where's all that cash going? Well, this chart gives us a pretty clear picture. You can see the biggest slices of the pie are going towards the core programs. Nearly a quarter is for civic education, and there are other huge investments in the Youth Leadership Academy and community dialogues. So it's a clear focus on educating people at the grassroots level and building up our future leaders. And how are they going to pull this off? Well, the plan is to go local. As you can see from this model, it all starts at the top with a National Strategy Council that sets the overall direction. From there, it flows down to county unity councils in all 47 counties. But the real boots on the ground are the Community Unity Champions, a network of volunteers who will be driving this change at the most local level, right in their own villages and towns. Okay, and last but definitely not least, and this part is absolutely critical, how will they even know if any of this is actually working? Well, the proposal includes a pretty detailed framework for accountability and for measuring its impact. See, success isn't just about being busy, it's about getting real results. So the campaign will be tracking very specific key performance indicators, or KPIs. They'll be looking at hard numbers, like a measurable drop in online hate speech, higher enrollment numbers for youth leadership programs, and a real, tangible shift in public demand toward politics based on issues, not just ethnic headcounts.
So there you have it. It's a detailed, well-funded roadmap to unity. But it all really boils down to one massive question, doesn't it? Can a strategic, citizen-led campaign actually succeed in shifting these deep-seated cultural norms where traditional politics has failed time and time again? Well, that is the 170 million shilling question.